Hey everybody, we are back in Wuling for the second defense of the Sky King Flats. In this video, I'll show you the setup that I use to clear this flawlessly and how you can do the same. Before we begin, I'm going to go over the upgrades that you should grab before attempting to follow along with this video. This build uses the high explosive grenade tower and the marsh gas Mark I, both from the Wuling AIC plan, as well as the surge towers from the basic AIC plan. Also, there is one enemy that is going to give you quite a hard time on this defense, and it is the Tidal Clast. Under abilities, we can gather that the Tidal Clast creates AoE zones, and if enemies run through these zones, they get increased speed and defense, and they become harder to interrupt. Now, this turns these trash mobs down here into actual formidable threats. So the basis of my design here was to kill these Tidal Clasts pretty quickly, and to keep the trash mobs at bay and prevent them from walking through the zones created by the Tidal Clasts. So, on this first lane right here, this is the first place that a Tidal Clast will spawn. I have two high explosive grenade towers at the first bend in this lane. I experimented with putting these towers on this side of the lane, but I found that when enemies left and new enemies entered their radius, that they had a hard time deciding which one they wanted to fight, and a lot of the time they would end up just going back and forth without shooting. So, right here beside the first bend is where I think the best place for these grenade towers are. Behind them, I have the marsh gas Mark I. This is going to shoot upwards into the enemies that spawn right here, and keep them in place, slowing them for the grenade towers to shoot into and do good crowd control damage. Also, this marsh gas is going to slow enemies and prevent them from stepping in the pools created by the Tidal Clast, just like I mentioned a minute ago. Moving on to the second place that a Tidal Clast can spawn, you may notice that the defense that I'm using is similar to that I used in the first Sky King Flats defense video. Only I changed a couple things. Firstly, I have a marsh gas Mark I at practically the end here where the enemies are going to spawn and then move out from. So as soon as these enemies spawn, they're going to get hit by the marsh gas and slowed. Now, moving on, down the lane, I have a surge tower right here and a high explosive grenade tower in place of where a surge tower used to be for the first auto defense. This is probably my most solid lane. The slow here at the beginning for the enemies and the surge tower and the grenade tower do pretty good damage. Those are all a good combination, and hardly anything gets through this lane, except for the medium to high health units like Tidal Clasts, and I don't know if any of the medium health units spawn there, but if they do, they'll still get swept up by this. I have a beam tower further down that lane as kind of like a safety net. The beam tower isn't a great main line of defense, but it is really good for medium to high health targets and taking them down quickly, which is why I place it here, because in the last wave a Tidal Clast will spawn, and a lot of the damage dealt to that Tidal Clast will come from this beam tower. Now, on the third and final lane, I hardly have anything. This barely gets used, and when it does, only about a handful of enemies come out. So I trust that this grenade tower and this grenade tower will do enough splash damage to kill all the enemies here. This beam tower and this sentry tower are another safety net for Tidal Clasts and medium health units that will come down this lane. Medium health units do come down here quite frequently because the damage that I have on that first lane simply isn't enough to kill them all. But they always get dealt with down here, so it's pretty nice to have this safety net ensuring that nothing will touch our core. And that's our defense. It's pretty simple, but this defense is a beating if you don't have good placement or good RNG, because that can ruin your run sometimes. But without me yapping anymore, I'm going to show you guys this defense in action, and then I'll talk to you again at the end. And here we'll have our first title class spawn. We'll get to watch as it makes the AoE zone I was telling you about, so you get a visual reference of what it looks like. That right there is the AoE zone. If enemies pass through that, they will become incredibly fast, and that's what we're looking to avoid. And the damage on this title class is pretty good. There you go, you see an example of enemies getting through there. But yeah, the title class is actually almost dead before it even leaves this little choke point, which is pretty good. And here you can see what I was talking about with the marsh gas. Just as soon as these guys spawn, they are affected by it. They're slowed, and they're going to take pretty big damage from our AoE damage sources right there. Here's the second title class, spawning on the second lane over here. It's going to get a little bit of a head start, drop its zone. And then you can see the enemies that spawn behind it are just getting slowed by the marsh gas. With all that added clear, that leaves the title class as the last enemy to get mopped up by this beam tower, and probably by that beam tower alone, depending on how far it gets. Nah, it'll probably need... yeah, okay, that's it. So, you guys saw this defense was pretty effective. Everything worked out how it should have. No enemies got dangerously close to our core, and we completed it without taking any damage. So, I really hope that this guide helps some of you guys. If you're having issues with any of the other defenses in the game, please let me know that in the comments so I can get to that one quicker. And that'll be all for today. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one.